Hi, my name is Ralph Hall. I'm an assistant professor in the School of Public and International Affairs at Virginia Tech, and I'm joined here with Eric Vance and our students, and today we're going to talk about an innovative data collection and cleaning process that we have been developing over the past 2 years. This collaboration basically began when I went to Eric with a large data set that we collected in Africa of about 2,000 household surveys, and I was hoping to hire a PhD or graduate statistical student. And during our conversation, when I was explaining what we had and what I needed, Eric saw an opportunity for me to really engage with his group called LISA.
So I'm the director of LISA. LISA is the Laboratory for Interdisciplinary Statistical Analysis. We help researchers all over Virginia Tech use statistics to advance their research. So I was looking for a big signature project that I could involve a lot of students on and give them great real-world experience and opportunities to work as a team of statisticians on one project. So when Ralph came and asked for one student, I thought, well, I can do that better. Like, we can actually have 8 students working on this project.
So we started, I hired Lisa instead of hiring one student, and spent a lot of time explaining to each student the context behind each of the questions and what the data really meant. And we sort of began to realize that we probably could have done this a lot better had the statisticians been involved right from the start. And that sort of started a dialogue of, well, how could we really advance data collection? How could we collect much better quality data? And that's what we did.
So yeah, Ralph came wanting a statistician to help him analyze the data. But it turns out that almost all of our time was spent cleaning the data. And so we went back and forth, like, what does this data really mean? It was a big effort that we thought in the next project, we'll do that data cleaning in real time in the field, and therefore we can end the field work with a clean data set, great high quality data that we can actually use to analyze and answer the research questions.
And just one point, what is really interesting about this is the data I came with was collected on PDAs. It was high quality data already. But what you begin to realize is when you really look at the data carefully, even though there was some cleaning that was done during the data collection process, it was evident that we can really advance and get much more sophisticated in how we're cleaning the data in the field. And so that's where, I guess, the on-the-ground statistician concept that Eric developed really came from. After we realized that we had this opportunity to really advance the way we collect the data, clean it, and generate high quality data, I had an opportunity to be a part of a team evaluating a rural water program in Mozambique funded by the Millennium Challenge Corporation. And what the MCC was doing was installing about 600 hand pumps in the provinces of Nampula and Cabo Delgado.
So in LISA, we always advise our clients to come see a statistician before they collected data. So we saw this as an opportunity to actually show the value of how, if a statistician is involved in all phases of the research from the beginning to help design the study, and then in the field helping to collect high quality data, how the final analyses and the overall results of the project are going to be much better.
So what we did is we put a really interesting interdisciplinary team together. So we had Eric and his statistical student, myself, and Emily Van Houwen, who's a PhD student in sort of planning and governance, but is focusing on sort of life in the rural communities. We had students from Stanford University join us in the field doing water quality testing. So we had sort of science, statistics, ethnographic work, planning. A really interesting team came together to do the analysis.
I was involved in all the phases of the research in Mozambique and previous water-related research in Senegal and Mali. And after being involved in the initial phase of this research in Mozambique and watching some of the interviews and viewing the data, I felt like there was a lot of missing information that was not adequately captured in the quantitative survey approach that we used. I was interested in understanding people's perceptions of the water project, some of the social impacts of the water project, and understanding the significance and meaning of water in people's lives. And to research these questions, I applied for and received a Fulbright grant, which allowed me to spend 1 year working in 5 different communities in Nampula and living with people and being able to understand the significance of water in their lives. And in terms of a larger project, I felt like this experience helped me to work with the team to design good research questions, to interpret the quantitative data, and to connect the data to the larger context. Let me tell you now a little bit more about what that context looks like in Nampula, Mozambique. This is a video of the children of my host family in Nampula walking home from the well. Most families spend about 8 hours a day collecting water. The time spent collecting water is highly seasonal. During the majority of the year, most families have water within about 15 minutes of their house. But during the dry season, from roughly September to December, people often have to walk more than an hour to collect water. When they arrive to crowded wells, and they often have to wait several hours for the water to recharge and for their turn in line. The water collection responsibilities mean that children are often late to school or they don't attend school at all, and women have little time for anything else in their lives. As you can see from the video, people carry water on their heads. A 20-liter jug of water weighs over 40 pounds. Before the hand pump was installed, most people collected water from open hand-dug wells or rivers. In this video, you see a typical open hand-dug well in one of the districts in Nampula, which really illustrates the difficulties of water collection. You can see the water is quite turbid, and according to international standards, most of these water sources have water that's considered dangerous to human health. Water-related diseases such as diarrhea are major health issues in most of these communities. In the video now you see the girl giving a scoop of water to the woman who's going to use it to top off her jug. In this environment, water is extremely precious. And during the dry season, people often don't have enough water to bathe properly, to wash their clothing, and to cook certain foods. And it can take up to 20 minutes for this girl to scoop by scoop fill up her 20-liter jug.
So this is a unique opportunity for our statistics graduate students to get out from behind their computers into the field, especially in a developing country, to work on a big data-intensive project.
My involvement in the Nampula baseline survey was as on-the-ground statistician. My duties included helping with the survey development or survey questionnaire development, training the surveyors, data collection, and then data analysis. This total involvement in the survey made me a subject matter expert, rather than just a data analyst who relied on the collaborators for all the information about the survey. My main duty was following around the surveyors from village to village in Nampula, analyzing the data on a nightly basis as the surveyors collected during the day. After all this analysis, what I tried to look for was inconsistencies in data or any errors that they might, or suspicious values that they may have collected. The next day I'd be able to go to the surveyors, ask them about it, see if they were actual true values or errors in data collection. Since the turnaround time was so quick, they could be able to recollect the survey which it was collected and tell me whether it was true value or not. At the end of the survey, at the end of this process, we got data that was ready to analyze from the day after the survey was finished and without any kind of time for data cleaning.
And the statistician in the field, their job was to really support and work with the surveyors for the duration of the field work. And so they really extended the training, which was normally 2 weeks, all the way through the field work. So by the time we got to the end, the enumerators, the household surveys, were coming back to this person saying, don't tell me that this is an error tomorrow. This is exactly what the household respondent said. So that gave us some real confidence that the surveyors were really excited about what they were doing. They knew that we were watching, but we were watching in a good way. We were trying to help them collect better data.
Yeah, because we really cared about the quality of the data, the surveyors really cared about the quality of the data. They became passionate about the quality of the data. Yeah.
My role for this project will be to be the on-the-ground statistician, which involves following the enumerators on a day-to-day basis and combining the data that they've gathered, analyzing those data with statistical models to identify outliers, and make sure by checking with the enumerators that those outliers are not actually errors, and instead are what the respondents really intended to say. By doing this, I'm supporting the enumerators and making sure that the quality of the data is as high as possible. I can also use that clean data that I'm collecting on a day-to-day basis to produce summaries that I can send back to stakeholders worldwide?
So the way we typically design this field work is we start for about 2 weeks and have training of enumerators, surveyors. They typically come from the local area. They speak the languages they need to speak to communicate with the people we're interviewing. So we have a 2-week training period during which we go through every single question in the survey that we've designed. We ask them how they would say this. We work on revising the questions so it's appropriately designed, it's culturally appropriate. What's interesting in this process, the new way of doing it, is we had a statistician in that process. So that person could basically track every change we made to every question and see the knock-on effects in terms of the final variables we could create.
Yeah, so as statisticians, we were really focused on the data. So we were able to determine, what questions do we really need in the survey? What data do we need to collect? And how will these changes in translation, how will they affect this ultimate data that we collect?
So after we've trained for a couple of weeks, one of the interesting things we do is we start on paper. So the enumerator can see the entire architecture of the household survey. About a week in, we begin to transition to the modules on a PDA or tablet. So what happens then is if we have made any logical errors in coding these surveys, and our surveys tend to be in the range of 500 to 800 questions, and the logic in the survey takes you through various modules. In total, they take about 45 minutes to about an hour and 15 minutes to complete in the field. So having seen it on the paper and then on the tablet or PDA, they're able to sort of remember the logic and how the survey should go and help us spot any errors that were made in programming this large number of questions. Following the training, we do a pilot study where we go to a community not in the sample, but it's very similar to the communities where they will be working. And we do 1 to 2 days there. We do the full complement of all the survey instruments that we're administering. Then we have the statistician take a day or so to really analyze the data that was collected, and we basically revise any problems we found. We fix the questions, and then hopefully within a few days we're ready to begin the field work.
Yeah, the pilot study was really the first time we had actual data to work with as statisticians, and it was kind of like a blitz of like, all right, now we have the data, we need to turn it around in 24 hours, figure out what are the errors, what errors do we see? Are there outliers that are actually because the questions are misinterpreted, they're misasked, were there mis-entries in the data set? Do we need to change the way we're asking the questions? But also, are the data that we collect, will they help us answer these ultimate research questions? And in the case of the Mozambique study, we actually had to go back and change a little bit of the survey structure and add a few questions to get at some of the data that were missing from the original version of the survey.
I think one of the unique or interesting parts of this type of work is the logistics of how you do it. And this is often not thought about, but it's kind of challenging. We're working in a region where there's no power quite frequently. There's intermittent cell phone coverage. And so what we have to do is create a sort of mobile charging platform in each of our vehicles where we can charge the PDAs, the GPS devices, power laptops from those units. We also have secure Pelican cases or something like that securely locked inside the vehicle, so at night we can store our equipment in a safe location.
And it's this technological platform that enables the on-the-ground statistician to do the work. So the on-the-ground statistician will be using his laptop in the field, charged off the car battery, and then using that vehicle to drive to a location where they have cell phone coverage so that they can securely transmit the data worldwide, for further analysis and check-in. So the biggest value that the on-the-ground statistician added to this project was having a clean data set right after the fieldwork ended, but also every couple of weeks we had a cleaned data set that grew bigger and bigger, and we could send to the stakeholders.
And that part was quite a unique aspect, I think, of what we were doing, because I have never shared data from the field with our stakeholders as it was being developed. And we had the confidence in the data to be able to do this. And I think it really helped engender trust. I mean, we were doing an impact evaluation, and we just made available this sorts of raw data in sort of a summary form coming out of the field.
What I'm most excited about this project is the opportunity to develop the idea of the on-the-ground statistician, to get that statistician involved in all the aspects of the research and into the field.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I am really excited about is the fact that we have real confidence in the quality of our data. And as we move forward and advance what we're doing, I think that this will just continue to improve. So if you're engaged in large-scale data collection efforts and like what you've heard in this video, please reach out to us, and we'll be happy to engage and talk more with you about what we do.